That's not on. Hi, welcome to Awake TV. So today, Sue and I are going to talk about different timeline, different person. So we tend to think like people we meet or we know or celebrities, those kind of people are same people. But while we are shifting one timeline to another, that person you probably knew like, I don't know, a week ago or a year ago, or whatever, is totally different person. So we're going to use a famous person example and also our own experience to talk about this and share our insight, so you have a deeper understanding about timeline and shifting and then I guess compassion. So for famous people, I want to use an example about Johnny Depp because everybody's talking about it. And I haven't really watched his trial because, you know, I have a much better things to do than just watching the trial. I mean, I'm not trying to be pretentious or something because that's like, whatever. It's not my business or anything. So, but I decided to watch it yesterday for the purpose of this. And my point of view about the Johnny Depp of my own timeline, according to my knowledge, my investigation, he is a part of the dark cult, and then, you know, part of all these nefarious things, and of course drink blood. And then I was like, oh, no wonder he got hugely successful. Of course, I was a big fan of 21 Jump Street, and I was thinking, wow, he's so hot when it came out, but I totally flipped my mind. And then I was thinking, oh, yeah, he's kind of weird. And he said never want to watch his acting when he, you know, finished shooting the movies. And then I was thinking, yeah, he's possessed. So he doesn't want to watch his possessed self. So that was my idea of Johnny Depp before I watched this trial, right? And then I was watching this trial. And as a producer, I know when people are lying or like acting, you know, or they're seriously going through their emotions and then going through this. And also I can feel the vibration on top of my own experience. So I listened to Johnny's testimonial. Then when he was talking about his children and he didn't have that much ambition in his life, all he wanted to be the good father of his children because of his, you know, challenging upbringing. I totally understand that. And I wasn't being emotional or anything. I was observing him, observing his vibration, everything. And then, long story short, my conclusion is, okay, this Johnny Depp in this timeline I'm on and the Sue is on is a different Johnny Depp. I was thinking in totally different timeline, like maybe a year ago. And then I was believing, okay, this Johnny is a whatever part of the member. But part of the reason I'm talking about this is maybe we do have a certain idea on certain kind of individual. So we think this person is a part of the dark cult or whatever. But when we shift ourselves, even these people, either they might get out of the cult and they repent themselves like Elon Musk, or like Johnny Depp, like, you know, in this, I really think in this timeline I'm on, he was never being in the part of the group. Because he kept on saying like his integrity is important and the honesty and authenticity is important. So I feel like he's a smart enough, like a street smart, and they went through horrible childhood. So he knows how to operate, how to read people, how to operate, and how to kind of like walk on thin line without joining like deeply in this kind of like nefarious organization. So that is my point of view. What do you think about this, Sue?
Yeah, I'm feeling very much the same about Johnny Depp. I was not quite entwined with him as an actor or his work until he did the Pirates of the Caribbean. Then I got the the work he did with Charlie and the Chocolate Factory and that sort of thing. So I wasn't really a fan until quite a bit later in his career. Anyway, to what you're saying, I completely agree. As we've talked about before, our ascension and our vibration is an internal job. And as we lift our states of consciousness and our vibration, we then meet another version, because we're on a different timeline, of these characters that we've known in our lives. And that's why sometimes they can appear so different. So,
Yeah.
big example, which I think a lot of people can relate to, is in 2000, and maybe some people sooner. Like I knew about Pizzagate in 97 when it came out, but then, just, or was it 2007? I don't know. Timelines are fluid with me now. So remembering back that far, I don't know which timeline I'm on. But anyway, when I first heard about Pizzagate, I knew it was true, but I couldn't deal with it. So I put it away in my mind and I didn't deal with it because I needed to cope in my life. In 2020, I had a much larger awakening to, dark cult, things like that, and what they were doing. So even my version of Tom Hanks completely shifted. I'd always, always loved Tom Hanks, especially his work in Forrest Gump and, the movie Big and all of that. And I used to love Oprah. I used to watch her show all the time. I used to have dreams about maybe being on her show one day. I don't know why, but it would be fun just to meet Oprah, right? And so we shifted into a timeline of being aware of the dark cult
Yeah.
cabal in 2020. Okay. So that timeline, just to be aware of it, was to help us understand separation from source, right? That's the purpose. We signed up for that, by the way, people. So we got to take responsibility. We chose to have that experience. When we did that, we met these various characters as that role in that timeline. Okay.
Yeah.
So in other words, the ones that were dark cult agreed to play that role in that timeline. Now that we're shifting and we're moving out of this, for the ones of us who choose not to focus on that timeline anymore, who don't talk about dark cult, who don't think of ourselves as victims of anything, we raise our frequency to such an extent to where, like, we're meeting all new characters. Okay. These are the versions of those people that we knew all these years that never entered the dark cult. That is a matter, or change their mind. Yes. Because with any given life path, at these points that we call nodes, it's like when events happen in our life that we set out for ourselves, there are so many different versions of us based on our free will choice. So there are so many versions of Erica. There's so many versions of Sue. It's infinite, by the way. There's so many different versions of you, the audience, as individuals. And our focus and our vibration determine which version of ourselves we are going to experience, but also which version of other people we are going to experience, our loved ones, our friends, our neighbors, and so on and so forth. So yes, and by the way, folks, that's the quantum. Okay. When people ask me, what is quantum healing? That's what quantum means. It means all versions and all possibilities are going on at exactly the same time. So it's all happening now. There's no past, there's no future, there's only the now moment. So what are you vibrating right now? What do you choose? It's your free will. It's not something that's imposed upon you. So there's nothing outside of yourself that's going to determine your reality except for what you are vibrating and what your beliefs are. So if you want to hang on to some, like if I were to hang on to my disappointment about Tom Hanks or Oprah, I'm going to continually bring that energy into my reality. Or if I want some kind of vengeance, or I want to see the truth of it all come out into society, and I really am sticking to that point in my decision, which is that's what I want to see, I'm going to create that reality. That's the timeline I'm going to be on, and the evidence will come out. I don't know when, eventually. Or do I want to move to myself internally as an internal, powerful aspect of source? Do I want to move my reality to a whole nother timeline? And so that's what I wish for myself. And that's what I do. And I don't see any of that. The
Yeah.
old stuff. I don't see information about Hillary Clinton or Oprah or Tom Hanks, or it's like they disappeared off the face of the earth. I don't know where they are, what they're doing, and I don't care, because for me, if I see the highest version of these souls, I see them as source. I see them as being exactly where they need to be. I don't know what that is, by the way. It's none of my business, because they're living their life. Their soul is choosing what their soul is choosing. I'm choosing my life, and if they're not in it, that's okay. But I'm continuing to choose the highest version of my life, which means then when I see someone like Johnny Depp and I see him going through a trial, I don't see him as a cabal member. Like you, I tuned in a couple times, I listened, I felt into the energy of it, and I do not feel that he is a dark cult member. I do feel that he is someone that had abuse in his life, and I do feel that he chose a partner in life that treated him much the way his mother did. It's like, we do tend to marry our parents if we don't heal
Yeah.
ourselves, right?
Yeah.
We do tend to repeat patterns if we don't heal. So,
Mm-hmm.
I think the lesson from this whole Johnny Depp trial is that, Amber gets up and she talks about her trauma and why she behaves the way she did. And I don't know, I didn't watch it, but I've heard, and you've told me some of it. Okay, I can have compassion for that. Then go ahead and heal. You know that you've had all this happen. Don't keep perpetuating your patterns of abuse into someone else's life. Now you're
Yeah.
responsible for that. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
I had trauma in my life. I took responsibility. I went to therapy. I was committed. I learned everything I could about why things happen in families, why I went through what I went through, how I can heal from it. And then I worked on myself, and I still work on myself every damn day, and I say damn day, but it's just to get the point across of how important it is. We have to constantly attend to our own backyard, our own issues, our own pain, whatever trauma it is, until eventually you get to a point where it's not trauma anymore.
Yeah.
So we leave the victim role behind, and we say, okay, that served me because I became a very, very strong person. And then we move into personal power, and we, with gratitude that we had those experiences, because we wouldn't be where we are now if we didn't. But it's a free will choice to make that shift, and it's an internal job. And yes, I think we are going to meet different versions of people as we shift timelines, but
Mm-hmm.
it's an internal job. It's not something outside of you that's going to click into place and all of a sudden you're going to have this wonderful life. That's not how it
Yeah.
works. It's not outside of you. It's an internal job. And when you do the work and you do your own emotional healing, and dealing with your emotional issues and working through them, stop seeing yourself as a victim, start seeing yourself as a powerful aspect of creator, that's when you start to notice other people are a much healthier version of themselves in your timeline, in your reality.
Yeah. And then the most important thing is to let go of your preconceived notion about other people. You thought that this person is always this and that. Then you are recreating this person with your, thick belief. And then you are not helping the other person's freedom or change or transformation. Because, when I was talking to Sananda Jesus, like he was saying, like we can always change our mind, up till we take the last breath. We can
Yeah.
always do that. So there's nothing too late. Like no matter what kind of horrible dark life the person had, he or she can always change to make a new decision to transform themselves, right? So
Absolutely.
we cannot force them to say, hey, you've been always like this, so I don't believe this new version of this person or that person. It's not our business. Just accept. Think you're intelligent enough to accept, okay, this person changed for whatever the reason, and then bless them, and they go on your own business. Like, I still do watch real raw news and then hear all this, sometimes Hillary or other people, but it's like 1 2 second 5 second update. It's not a wow, like huge influence in my life or anything anymore, because we are like ascending, all of us. So majority of it decided to ascend. It's not the majority of the good people, so-called, or truthers. Majority of the beings on this earth decided to ascend. That means, most of us decided to proceed and then accept Christ consciousness eventually. We all have our speed differently, but everybody's going toward the right direction, right? I mean,
Mhm.
some people I spoke with has this, dark belief about Elon Musk. I looked at his vibrational field, and I really think he's going toward the light as well. He may be creating his own hologram, own reality, so he can talk about whatever he wants. That's his timeline, not mine, not Sue's. But when we pick Ellen's here and there, and he's talking about, oh, I believe in freedom, that's kind of aligned with mine, so I'm fine with it. So
Yeah, and that's a really good point. We each are going to experience the world in our own unique way, each one of us. So that's what, however many billion people are on the planet, that we're all going to have our own experience. There may be shared experiences, but so Erica, you could have a conversation with Elon Musk, but you wouldn't have to argue about what reality is. He's
yeah,
creating his, you're creating yours. And for the fact that you're having a conversation means that your timelines have crossed. And
yeah.
that's fine. It doesn't mean you have to have agreement on exactly what is reality, because we're all creating our own.
Mm-hmm.
So, I think that's another important thing to remember. If we're focusing so much on somebody else's reality, we're not paying attention to our own,
Mm-hmm.
or we're adapting their reality to be ours. And I got to tell you, I've heard a lot of different versions of our ascension, and I don't want anybody's reality but my own. I like what I'm
Mm-hmm.
creating, and there are things that I hear and I go, oh yeah, I like hearing that because I agree. I want to see that happen too. Especially when it comes to nobody is without. Everybody has all their needs met, and then people can,
Mm-hmm.
all the systems are going to change, which means, anybody can study whatever they want or be whatever they want based on what their heart tells them they want to do. That's going to be a shared reality that we're all creating, I think, or most of us are.
Yeah.
And I can jump on that train,
Mm-hmm.
because the idea that anybody doesn't have enough food or doesn't have a good shelter or isn't able to pursue what they want to in their life or can't feed their kids, I mean, all that kind of stuff breaks my heart. So the idea that all of that's going to go away and we're all going to be equal and treated equal, and there's not going to be any violence anymore, people don't need to hurt one another, they don't need to steal from one another, they don't need to be on top of the other, because we all have our needs met. I mean, yeah, I'm signing up for that reality. So, there are things I agree with and things I don't agree with. Well, I just stick with what my picture is. What are you painting in your reality? You have to be conscious of it.
Yeah. And then also you want to ask, do you want to be right, or do you want to be happy?
Yeah.
It's a totally different question. Because when somebody talking about, like, he's talking about completely different timeline as mine, I remind the person, like, we are on different timeline, but I don't really like correct the person or disagree or anything, because for that person's timeline is that one. not mine. But what's the point of correcting the timeline when you're on totally separate highway, right?
Yeah. Yeah. You had a convergence, and that's cool. And it could be for a little while you're converging, or it could be you just wanted to have that conversation with each other because it opens your mind. It helps your consciousness grow. That's
Yeah.
okay.
Mm-hmm.
That really is okay. And we don't have to argue. I mean, truly, I don't know if you guys have ever had the opportunity where you've had an instance where you saw somebody meet their karmic just desserts, so to speak. There's like, you feel like you got some retribution because you got to see them get their
Mm-hmm.
just desserts. I have, and I got to tell you, it has never made me feel better.
Hmm.
As a matter of fact, it usually makes me feel more compassion for that person because I know that even as a kid, I felt this way.
Hmm.
I just always had compassion for other people, even when I know they deserve something, or I thought they
Hmm.
deserved something, and I'd see them get their desserts. I was like, it didn't make me feel better. It didn't improve my life. I had like sort of a lingering sadness. It's like, wow, how sad it is that that person behaved so badly that this had to be the result.
Yeah, could have chosen different path, right?
Could have
Um,
chosen a different path. And so, even these people that you guys think that you really want to see them come to justice, or you want to see them be executed, or all these things I've heard, I promise you that if you do get what you want and you see it, I don't think it's going to bring you any joy, truly.
yeah, I mean, we may see that news or hear the news here and there, but like the main focus is what kind of vibration you want to be. Like mine is joy,
Exactly.
mine is joy.
Yeah.
Every day I choose what joyful thing for me today. So when you decided your core vibration, everything else gonna be similar to that because everything is vibration. Everything is. So, like I forgot what my point was. Yeah, my guide or Sue's guide or Ashtar or higher being is saying like, oh, don't focus on outside, focus on inside. This is exactly why they have been saying that. So it's easier to focus on your own life, your own vibration, what you need to work on than focusing on everybody else. And then you are like out of focus. You're scattered. So it's a lot harder to create your own reality, create your own hologram, or shifting into your own timeline you just created.
It's kind of like asking us as humans, would you prefer to go to a movie where you're watching people helping each other out, to overcome some difficulty and they come together as a community? Or would you like to watch a movie where there's a guillotine and all the people that ever hurt anybody are lined up and they're each going to get their heads chopped off? Which movie would you like to see? I know it's kind of a gross example, but I mean that's just what popped into my mind. It's like I don't want to see people get their heads chopped off. Thank you very much. I'd much rather go see the movie about community. And it's, again, I like to watch all different kind of movies, but I know the difference between what I'm creating in my reality and say a movie where it's like guns and ammo, or you know some space travel where they have to deal with an asteroid that's going to destroy Earth. And, um, I could watch that for entertainment because I think it's interesting and I like the characters and the actors and all of that. But, I differentiate in my mind. This is reality. This is the reality I'm creating versus, okay, I'm going to watch some entertainment. So, I mean, if you're tuning into news stories because maybe you're a little bored or something, or you're curious and you want to see what the temperature is or what's going on. I'm not saying that's, a horrible thing, but, if you're into it all the time, getting every update and
And then
constantly
getting
focusing
emotional
on
about it.
getting emotional about it, you're really into it. It's kind of almost addictive. Be careful because, you might be keeping that in your energy field as your creation. And I don't think that's what we want to do.
Because there's an energetic entanglement.
Yeah.
You choose to entangle yourself with a particular other person's reality or something, then your own original creation will be tapped with the other person's creation. Do you want to ask, do you want that reality? It's
Yeah.
not about it's true or not. It's
Oh,
about, do you want that?
something just popped into my head. And I know in the beginning, like in 2020, when I had my my total awakening about things, I had this idea in my head that all the people that wouldn't listen to me, that someday I'd turn around and go, see, I told you so. You thought I was crazy or conspiracy theorists and all this. You know what? I don't care about that anymore. And here's why. Because we're to the point where we're with the Christ consciousness and community, and we're, in 5D, all those people that are there with us, they were never naysayers. They were never calling us names or making fun of us. It's a different version of them, which is the point of this talk today.
Yeah.
So there's no need to say I told you so, because that's not even the same version of the person that you knew 2 years ago.
And
You follow what I'm saying?
You're not even the same person from yesterday. When you work on yourself and you go to sleep, next day you wake up, you're a different version of yourself.
Yeah. Yeah. And how cool is that? I mean, moment to moment, we're deciding.
So it's important to, I hate to use forgiveness, but easier. So forgiveness, you had a particular idea about this person, you decided this person is a, evil member of the evil empire or something. Then forgive, because this person seems to be completely different now. That's what Christ consciousness is. That's what compassion is. You're not going to keep on labeling the person like, oh, you are this and that. That's including yourself, because all of us do have opportunity to change every day, every hour, every minute. And that's why, part of the reason why my guys, or higher beings are saying focus on yourself. So it's simpler. You change yourself, that's easier than change everything outside of you, which is not really existing. We think we do, but it's a lot easier. So any last word you want to share, like the inside tips?
Just real quick, on a session I did with Pierre, we were talking to one of Pierre's other selves, super higher dimensional being.
Yeah.
And he said something to us that really took our breath away, and I want to share it. He said, your interactions with your other humans are going to be determined by what you see in them. So do you see a dark cabal member? Then that's the version of that person you're going to get. Do you see the source energy light within them? Then that's the version that you're going to get. So it's because how we see somebody is how we relate to them. And if I'm talking to somebody like they're a dark member cabal, they're going to feel that energy. They're going to know what I'm seeing in them, and they're going to give me what I see. If I talk to them like they're spark of God, like the rest of us are, and that's all I see is their light, then you're going to get a different response. And it's such a profound concept. I know maybe I'm not explaining it like I understand it, but when we heard that in session, I mean, Pierre and I were kind of like speechless for a little while. And then, as we got talking about it, we both were just like, wow, that is just so big. It's such a big concept. I mean, eventually it's going to wind up in our book together, but I want to share it with you guys now because it's so important. Really, what are we seeing in each other? What are we seeing in ourselves? Are we seeing all our past deeds and every little thing we did wrong, or are we seeing that we're pure source energy and that really we're fine just the way we are? We can and deserve love just the way we are. And if we start behaving that way toward ourselves, and we'll start behaving that way towards everybody around us. And that's how the shift is going to happen.
Yeah. And then, like we said, we never experienced the other person's life ever. So we can't really judge anybody, being on high horse and say, oh, this person is super evil. I mean, you never know what kind of fucked up, like, the physical abuse and the sexual abuse they had since they are born. We never experienced that. So we can't really, judge them. And then once those people appear in our new timeline where we work on ourselves and it seems to be a little better or a lot better or completely different, be joyful and then celebrate because we're all heading toward ascension.
Yeah.
And then all these people we don't see anymore, they probably decided to go a different route. So maybe they are not in your timeline, doesn't even come up in 1 second in your timeline, which is okay too,
Yeah.
So we're all responsible creator. Whoever come up in your movie called life, we created this person, we created this person, like when we shift timeline and then when I did point it out to one of close friends, like, oh, you went to trip to Italy, like, because this person is saying now, like, oh, we went to trip in France. So I pointed out that, and I know I shifted the timeline, and then that person, kind of like adjusted the comment there because I pointed out. So that's the evidence of you are recreating the character to make sense to your head or whatever that is. You don't even have to point out. Like when I noticed the huge difference between the people I know before and now, I don't even point out anymore because I know it's shifting. And then
because they won't remember anyway. They won't remember their old version.
They don't remember. Yeah, a lot of times they say they don't remember. Or did I say that? Or, but when we keep the purity of this person, whoever exists as is, then we shift another timeline. We are not staying in timeline and changing. We change by shifting. So each timeline we are on, we respect whoever around being who they are, just as is. Yeah, just as is. And then we keep on going. We keep on shifting. Then eventually, all of us gonna shift.
Yeah, we're gonna look around and we're gonna go, wow, this is awesome.
Yeah. So that's what we wanted to share today. So every single person we meet in our timeline are different, even ourselves. Which is awesome concept. Well, that's the truth. It's not a concept. It's a quantum physics. So we wanted to share about that. And then soon and I gonna talk about a more interesting topic next week. Please share, like, subscribe, and we see you guys next week. Bye.
Bye.